I'll start off around the evacuation procedure, and then I'll cover off something else. So I think everybody's familiar. Evacuation procedure. We're not expecting a fire, so if you do hear the fire alarm, then evacuate either through the fire escape towards the rear or the way you came in. Form up car park, and then wait for the senior officer, which I presume is yourself this evening, Nick, to kind of let you go, etc., or one of the firefighters, etc. Okay. Moving on, disclosable. Has anybody pecuniary or non-pecuniary interest on anything on tonight's agenda? No, can't see that. Okay, so I'm going to move on. Also worth saying, Doc, I think this is your final meeting. You formally retire, is it next week?
Yeah, it's formally on the 10th, but yes, my last working day is probably next Thursday.
Well, just want to thank you for all your efforts and support over the years, not just in what we're currently doing today, but obviously prior to that. I know you're staying around for a bit, so you're still on hand as for information, etc. So just want to say thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to move us on to minutes of the meeting held on the 20th of January. Has everybody seen the minutes and any comments on the minutes?
I'll move the meeting, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Humphries. I second. Councillor Ridley, all those in favour? That's carried. Okay, so moving straight on to the agenda. First agenda item 5 is the response to the North Warwickshire local plan issue options consultation. Yourself. Over to you.
Thank you very much. I just wanted really to highlight a few things. As you'll see in 5.1, that there was 472 respondents, which I think was quite good in terms of the overall. I mean, sometimes we've had as low as about 100 over the years and up to about 2,000. So, but I think for initiatives and options papers, that wasn't bad at all. As you'll see in 5.6, there was 13 new sites that have been added to the fourth site, and they've been included within the later report to deal with the HELA. So they've been included there. As you'll see, though, that there was a number of comments in relation to the next stage of the local plan, and in particular that a lot of people were saying, well, we don't understand really what the council wants to put into their draft plan and in terms of site allocations. So in terms of the next steps, we're proposing that we actually do an additional consultation, which is Regulation 18, put a draft of the local plan as if it was the plan we want to take forward, but there's still the opportunity to change it. So but that would give people the opportunity to actually see what is actually being proposed, but also that it's a fait accompli, that is the one that the council would want to submit. As you'll see in section 6, there's a number of other studies that are ongoing, and work is being carried out on a number of those. And we will be bringing those to you in due course as and when they are completed. Happy to take any questions.
Okay, thank you, Doc. And yeah, obviously this report is for noting. There's a lot of information, still got more to do. And probably like other members have been asked by the local parishes about what the next steps are. So it'd be good around the timescales, because I think that's when people will understand it a bit more rather than about policies. Because they'll get broken about their sites. Councillor Phillips, did you have a question?
Yes, I'd drill into the responses, if that's okay, Chair, for you. So it's 472 responses, 394 individuals, and 60% of that was all talking about greenbelt. Do we have any breakdown in demographics? Who and what responded where?
We'll have the information from in terms of emails and names, But at this stage, no, there was no information on male female age split or anything like that. Normally we would do that at the regulation 19 stage, but it isn't a set requirement, and there isn't a set requirement that people must fill those in.
I think it would be very handy to have that data because I know that Woodend, Ostry and Kingsbury responded very heavily. So if we're basically just looking at data from Woodend, Hurley and Ostry, then this, I don't feel we cast a wide enough net here for personally.
And I think it's a really valid point, Councillor Phipps, and that was one of the comments that we had in questions, and the reason we decided to go out with another consultation, because we've also had other authorities who have been challenged for only doing one. So we made that decision a few weeks back, maybe a month or so back, to say that we was going to do another. So, and we did talk about how we're going to actually communicate that, because I know, I don't know about yourself, but I got a lot of feedback because it was over the Christmas break. A lot of parents just went, well, we didn't see it, or we didn't have time, etc. So it's a really valid point. And I think it would be useful to know where they're coming from. We might not need other demographics around age, gender, etc. But their location, i.e. what ward that they're in, I think would be quite useful so that we can ascertain whether it's all one ward that has a significant concern about a particular issue, or whether it's more widely spread across the whole borough. So it's a really valid point, thank you.
The other follow up then, so have we learned anything from that average to get better outreach? Because if we had 2,000 past and 100 in the past, we know that we can do better. So have we learned anything from this?
From my experience, getting 472 respondents to an issues and options consultation is extremely good. I'd have to work out the percentage rate on that, but it doesn't sound a lot, but it is quite good. And as you can see through all of the comments in the appendix, there's a wide range of comments across all of the different policies as well. And I know a lot of people found it a very long form to fill in, but for those that have responded, I think it's been really useful, and also useful for the next stage going forward and revising the local plan. And what we're looking to do is to go through those responses and to actually then say how we've dealt with it, if we've been able to change the policy and things like that as the next stage. So that would be important as well.
Thank you. Greg, did you want to come in on that?
Yeah, so just to reiterate really what Doc's saying, but also the fact that because this is a local plan review, in my experience, you normally get slightly less respondees than you would on a brand new local plan starting from scratch. So that's sort of my experience. So I think that sort of numbers is pretty significant, and I'd assume we'd get something similar to at the next round of consultation as well.
Thank you. I mean, my expectation, and I hope actually on the next round we'll get significantly more, because that will be more. I think one of the challenges we had with this round was a lot of people couldn't quite understand that we're talking about the policies, not the sites. And I think one of the challenges, which we said in hindsight, we released the call for sites at the same time. In hindsight, we may have done better to just go out with a policy and go, like, this is what you're consulting on. Our expectation is the next consultation will be, right, people will go, right, this is my area, these are the sites around me, and this is kind of where we are with those sites. So I'm hoping that we're going to get significantly more. Councillor Humphries.
Well, I was going to look at page 3, which is 5.6, and just for a bit of clarity. It says 13 new sites we've received to call for sites in respect to potential housing 7, employment 4, and 2 sites development. Is there are we having a garden centre or a theme park or something? What is development? Is it something that could be what?
I think the bracket should be other development with the 2 sites after the word development, because it's other development. So that would cover anything from a B&G site, a biodiversity net gain site,
Okay.
or a solar farm, renewable site, battery storage. So that's where
Anything other than building?
Well, battery storage is sort of buildings, you know.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay, thank you. That's That's nice. We don't like battery storage. Ask the chair.
Councillor Ridley and then Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Chair. So 13 sites, and it's included now in the Helen report. Is the site, are we going to continue to receive sites if sites come forward, or is all the sites finished now? You know,
But the corporate site is closed. However, as a borough council, we have to keep on top of anything that does come in. So I'm not going to say there isn't going to be a complete and utter closed door, but what we have done is sent all the sites that we've had submitted off to various consultants. So it'd be now very, very difficult for those sites to be fully assessed. So that's where it becomes quite a bit more complicated if there are additional sites that do come forward with.
Thanks. And I think at some point you have to kind of go, right, we are where we are. This is what we're assessing. This is what we're looking at, whether it goes in the plan. As we've always said, whether it's in the plan or not, whether it's an allocated site or not, that won't stop speculative applications. We will still get those, but they'll go through the normal planning process. But obviously, if a site is in the plan and is an adopted site, that makes that planning process much quicker and kind of easier to determine. Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Chair. I'd just like to focus a little bit on 5.11 and the subsequent paragraphs. And I've been stopping to remember, because the 5.11 was, I think, fundamentally the same as what we understood in the previous consultation. And in my head, for some reason, I think option 4, dispersing settlement across the borough, was what people favoured in the last plan. So I think it'd be interesting, to the extent that it's achievable, to compare the responses we're getting now with the responses we had before, to understand how opinion through the consultation has changed. But my memory, which is incredibly susceptible to being wrong, was that last time there was genuine feeling that actually we didn't like a new village, we didn't like X, Y, and Z, but we were pretty much being told that people who responded were in favour of dispersing the growth across the borough. I can't remember, Dorothy, you probably will. Is my recollection correct? And how has the initial feedback changed from what we had with the last plan?
To be honest, I can't recall about the dispersal part of it. I just know that when we were then drafting the local plan, it was a mixture, but focusing on the settlement hierarchy. So there was a few more sites within, say, the villages and things that we hadn't allowed for previously. So when we did the 2006, I think it was the 2006 local plan, we were only focusing on the main settlements and local service centres. Anything below that hardly got anything allocated towards it. Whereas the next version, so the one that's adopted now, that had a more dispersal, and because we had the big allocations, we had to have that balance in the plan between those smaller sites being able to come forward a lot quicker than the big ones. So I can't recall on the responses, but I do know that that's been the step change that has gradually gone on throughout the years.
Thank you. And if it's possible, I don't mean to create an enormous amount of work, but it would be interesting to see if opinion is broadly the same or broadly different. My other question is on 5.24, which I have to say surprised me. I thought there would be general support for the new tranquil areas policy, but the report's telling me that wasn't brought this. Now, given that it's about whether it would be in comparison to the NPPF or not, sort of makes me think that was the more professional side of the consultation responses rather than the. But was it generally from people, or was it generally from councils and other bodies where they would look? Because I mean, it gives us two reasons. It might be against NPPF, and it might push development into other areas. But was that the individual or the corporate type response?
Do we have that information? Because it's a good, very good point, because it's more likely that it would be a developer or a professional responder that would actually understand that question rather than a member of the public or member for a parish.
Just helps. It was the parishes that mainly expressed they didn't want to spread the load.
Right, okay.
Yeah, just doing a quick scheme. And I can't find anything about that helps. It's parishes that sort of weren't about spreading the load. They thought it comment was something along the lines of would ruin the small areas. You were making a note of that.
We've done that already.
It was only a question that was about whether it's spreading in small settlements or not.
Yeah. Dorothy?
In terms of that, on page 109 of the appendix to the issues and options report, there's the response there in terms of the tranquility and tranquil areas. And yes, it tends to be Knight Frank on behalf of the Thorpe Estate, Blythe and Mayvale Estate, Canal and River Trust, No Man's Heath Parish Councils. So there was actually a suggestion area for Newton Regis and No Man's Heath, and that's why the Newton Regis, Secondton and No Man's Heath Parish Council, and areas around Walton and Shuttleton. So yeah, it's quite diverse, but it does tend to be more the agents and things like that.
Thank you.
That's Humphreys.
There's also 5.17 here. It was announced there about new settlements, new towns all over the country only the other day. And I've had lots of questions about the fact that Fort Constantine, Frux, Norton Juxta, Twycross, Fenny Drayton. Now they've been announced. Does that get rid of that? Because it's, talking here to both Lichfield District and Northwest Leicestershire. That killed them off. They won't be there. Because these were developments of 10,000 houses.
In terms of the government's proposals, that's the government's proposal for their new towns, but that doesn't preclude the council suggesting other new settlements for dealing with their growth needs. So it's almost like nationally it's been announced that there will be those new towns, but locally we still need to deal with the needs, and how best is it to deal with those needs.
But there must be a correlation between, so if the government decide they're going to put a new town in, suppose we're looking for 7,000 houses, as an example, and the government decides to put a new town in of 25,000 houses, that fixes the need, does it not?
Well, I would have thought so.
It depends where it's located and whether the people from North Warwickshire would then go to that new town. So it'd have to be close enough for it to be within either an area where people would go to.
Yeah.
But nationally, there is a requirement for a substantial amount of homes, and the government has announced that that is one way to provide part of that number. But our number is still the 364 per annum.
Cool. Yeah.
Going
So
forward.
for clarity, I mean, I wasn't talking about necessarily it's satisfying our need, but in that area where it was going,
Yes,
it must satisfy their need.
yes.
I think Councillor Simpson, Councillor Ridley.
It was just say, Joan, and timescale. Just if you try to develop a new town, it's going to have the same time implication as us. So, if you're looking to build a new Stevenage, because I think Stevenage was one of the original ones, it takes decades.
Yes.
It's a bit strange to me, if I could say, Chair, because in Milton Keynes, they were talking about extending Milton Keynes, and the people that live there complaining about that there might be a new town, bearing in mind they all lived
They were in
in a new town.
Councillor Ridley.
Thank you, Chair. What you said, really, that's what I was going to say. Effectively, it's our timescales that's causing us an issue, isn't it? And our larger allocated sites are not come forward. So if we're allocating larger sites again, we've got to be mindful that we're still not delivering. And if we're looking to deliver our housing figure that we need to do, we've still got to look at sort of instant, short, medium term,
Absolutely.
as well as our long term.
Yeah, and it's part of the dilemma. Yeah, I'll come to you, Mike. It's part of our dilemma, isn't it? In the fact that we've got to allocate a number of houses, and then we also get tracked and challenged on the number that are actually built. So there's that kind of you've got both elements of that you have to satisfy. Mike, did you want to come in?
Chair, no, it was just an additional awareness, which would probably have been useful if, as Councillor Phillips said, agreed, had that breakdown of the responses, because at both the drop-in sessions at Newton Regis and at Wharton, what was colouring that was there was a particular push for making responses for, in preference to a new town option, partly because they could redirect the pressure from their particular village location, or, and this comes to the point I think Councillor Simpson that other members were mentioning, where they could exactly redirect the pressure to the two adjoining settlements we proposed in Lichfield and North West Leicestershire stroke South Derbyshire. So there was actually quite a large group in both those drop-in sessions that said that's what we were going to submit our responses on the basis of, even though we explained there would still be a short time period within which we would still have to address the local need.
Thank you. Yeah, I certainly think when we go out again, it would be useful to actually have a question right at the start that says, which parish are you from? Because then I think we can get some much more granular detail.
Just as we've worked on surveys, that just seems to be just as general as a council should be doing anyway. I mean, we should really know where we find our data from. I mean, I know we don't need gender and sex and all that sort of stuff, just
Yeah,
we added it. But I mean, we should at least know roughly where we're polling from, because if everybody would end just responded, or Wharton, or Atherstone, then we're just polling a very small area and extrapolating forward, aren't we?
Mm.
I'm starting to feel, no offence to the officers, that's sort of where we're leaning now. We're extrapolating forward on about 3 areas worth of data, aren't we?
And that's why we're going to go out again just to sanity check that, where we can actually, because what I'm hoping on the next survey is that people will fully understand this is my areas, what it means to me, these are the sites, and then I think we'll get a much better response and quality of response, because they'll understand the area, they'll understand the questions much easier. We've defined the policies, but I think we'll do that. Okay, have we got any more questions on this report? Because, as I say, the recommendation is to kind of review the summary of the main issues and the responses set out in Appendix A, and that we note that, and in the next steps of preparation of the plan is outlined in the report, and we note that as well. This report just for noting. Do I have a
Just one question. On next steps, which will be the draft report, then we're going to move to draft report, or we're going to go after my survey?
it will be, as I understand it, we're going to do the same. So we're going to produce a report that says it's not going to be a Reg 19 on our submit, but it's going to be another Reg 18. I'll say this is kind of done a bit more work. We've hopefully got a bit more information in. This is what we're minded to submit. What are your comments and views on that? So we'll have a much clearer data for people to comment against. That's my understanding. Is that correct, Doc?
Yes, it'll be, so you've got the adopted local plan as it's written now. And what we're proposing is to show you the track changes from that plan to what it will be, and then go out for consultation on that version of the plan so that you can see all the changes and see what is being proposed, as well as the new allocations and things like that. So we want it to be as close to the Reg 19 as we can get to, but still with the opportunity to make some changes.
Yeah. So we can have all the new allocations in. Any allocations that coming out of that?
And my understanding is that yes.
Yes.
Yeah, there'll be the allocations to come out that have already been built or that have got planning permission, because they will already be within the housing figures. So they will need to come out, and then it will be a matter of if there's any particular issues of an existing allocation that can't be overcome within what we see as the plan period, then a decision would need to be made as to whether it stays in or whether it moves to being a reserve housing site or something like that.
But it would only stay in if it was deliverable.
Yes.
I do that because my next question, which was, there are sites that have been, and I understand why they're back in again, but there are sites that have been reallocated that had planning applications appealed and won. So they are, some of those couldn't be in the plan again, some would end. So I just wondered, would they be removed or would they be left in?
But there's only one allocation from the existing adopted local plan, and that's been completed. So it would be a matter now of determining whether there's new allocations that can go. So it's not the ones, so the sites that are part of the call for sites aren't in the adopted plan. So there's only the one allocation that's in the adopted plan, and that's now complete.
Yeah, so all of those that you've got in that book there,
Yeah.
I mean, they're not in the plan. They're sites that are being considered at this moment in time.
Right. But what I'm saying though is, if a site has already been applied for in the past and it's been refused, why would we accept it? Is my question. I don't want to try and be abrasive. It's like, what I suppose what's the technical reason for
Well,
accepting
we
it?
haven't got to that stage.
Okay.
That's our
Yeah,
next
yeah.
bit.
That's all I asked. Yeah. Would that go through? Yeah.
So importantly enough, just this in that book doesn't mean it's been accepted.
Yeah. That's what I said. Yeah. So I think you sort of covered it, but I didn't understand your answer.
Okay, thanks.
So I'm not trying to
Just before it comes to you, Councillor Ridley, Greg, you had your hand up, then you took it down. It's
Yeah, I'll just about to say, Chair, part of the process for this next draft consultation, like 18 consultations, we're going through obviously all the extant policies at the moment and just checking for compliance against MPPF, the latest version of MPPF. So that's just, another cross check what we're doing, and that will be part of the track changes that Dot was referring to.
and hopefully we'll have the strategic transport assessment and a number of other bits by that time as well.
Yeah.
Councillor Ridley.
Yeah, sorry, Chair, just some clarity regarding the allocated sites. I remember a few months ago, I'd asked about some allocations at H4, because that was actually in the call for sites again. And when I asked it, I don't know why it was just said because it's been so long and it hasn't been brought forward. So the landowners want to put it in the call for sites again. So an allocated site has appeared again in our call for sites. So,
Yeah, for some reason, H4, I think they were particularly worried that the Borough Council wouldn't reassess it and keep it within the plan. And I know, so that's the reason why it was resubmitted as part of the call for sites, was to make sure that it was still within all of the evidence and all of the consideration.
Were they worried it might have gone out of our thought process?
I think
Not a joke. Okay, thank you. Right, any other questions on the report? Do I have a proposer as per the recommendations? Councillor Simpson, seconder. Yeah, Councillor Ridley, all those in favour? Any against or any abstentions? I think that was everybody. That's carried. Okay, moving on to the next agenda item, which is agenda item 6. Is the publication of evidence for the local plan review. And the recommendation is that this report be noted. Oh,
as you see, there is 3 reports that we would like, well, I suppose they've been published as part of this board report, but we'd like to put them onto our website as part of the evidence base. As you'll see, the Greenbelt is only the stage 1 report. We're awaiting stage 2, which is the detailed site assessment. The landscape corridor sensitivity study as well, that's only stage 1. We've also got sites being assessed as part of that, so there will be a further stage report to that information. Sorry. I've got nothing else to add at the moment and happy to take any questions.
okay, thanks. Look, can I just make my understanding is that they're already on the website. So okay. That's what I just wanted to double check, because I thought when I was looking at the website for the minutes, etc., those reports, as you mentioned there, I'm not sure of the landscape corridor one. Certainly the employment survey and the Greenbelt study are definitely on.
They should all be as part of the board paper.
Right, okay.
So it should be on
Yeah,
the
okay.
website.
Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Chair. The question is more in principle. I mean, and it's what are we seeking to do here? Whenever we refer to something as evidence, it implies accuracy and agreement. I think these are, if you will, background supporting papers, which in the fullness of time may be adopted by the council, but at this point have not been adopted by the council. And I have particular regard to paragraph 2.3. The subcommittee will consider the reports in detail. i.e. we haven't yet. And we haven't yet, but we are putting them on our website. And therefore that is strongly supportive of the fact that, well, if you didn't agree with them, you wouldn't have done that, would you? I've read some detail, some of them, and I can't say I 100% agree with everything that's in any of them. So if you like, you can put them on whatever website you like, but not in my name. And I'm sure that goes for everybody around the table. Every report that I read of this, some part is fact, and the fact elements, I absolutely agree with. But then there is the analysis and opinion. An analysis and opinion is something that we need to discuss and agree, as opposed to, if anyone the misleading view, that we have considered it and we have agreed it, and this is our considered view. At this stage, this is information leading towards building up a view, building up a plan. I really want to avoid the assumption that anyone might come to that actually this has been considered, this has been agreed, and this is our considered view. So saying we're going to publish it is, fair enough, but it's not what we've agreed. And I think, and when we are putting it on our website, we need to caveat it absolutely to say this has not been adopted by the council. This is information which has been sought and which will be subject to review and challenge. But it is not, absolutely not adopted, because it hasn't been.
Thank you. So a comment similar to, this is not the kind of opinion of, perhaps this is for information.
And in Donald Trump's speak, big capital letters emboldened in orange, whatever you like, to make it abundantly clear. This is not council policy.
Dot, did you want to respond to that?
I just wondered if it would help if when we put it onto the website as part of the full planning pages, that we actually say that it's background information and not the word evidence at the moment, and we use it as that.
I think that would be preferable, and to say that it's also not accepted. It's not. This is not what the subcommittee believe, and this is not what the subcommittee has accepted. This is what the subcommittee are considering and reviewing.
And they haven't had a chance yet to grill the authors of it to say, do we understand it? And where are the areas of challenge? I mean, this is, it's a report from one person, as opposed to we have collectively decided that actually, we understand it and agree.
Well, the individual reports are from different sources, aren't they? So the Greenbelt report is from our Greenbelt consultant, etc. But it's a fair point, and I think that's one of the concerns, certainly when we were talking earlier, is that people might perceive, because it's on our website, this is what we think, or this is what we're going to go with. Similar sort of thing to the call for sites, because it's in there. People think, oh, this is one of the sites, and we're going, no, it's not. It's there for consideration. I guess we could almost be guilty of being too transparent with too much information that's actually never going to come to fruition. Do I have any other comments or questions? Nick, did you put your hand up?
I'll just say, Chairman, it might be worth adding words on the lines of paragraph 2.3 as well, connected to that, just to say that this will be tested and considered with all other evidence, with all other information at a point in time, you know, when we then consider the local plan in its entirety. So I think it just embellishes the concern, and we just make that caveat stronger.
Yeah. And I think that makes sense because I do agree with Councillor Simpson. The worry is that people think this is what we've agreed and what we've set
I
out.
certainly do.
Yeah,
And-
and that's not necessarily, that's not the case.
I'm not wishing to labour the point too much, but let's say in the fullness of time, we come up with something which is not entirely what this says. Well, they're going to have to go through a process of justifying
Explaining why.
what our changes were, why they were, what further evidence we had to vary the evidence that we've been given.
There is an advantage in publishing it because if there are any bodies that want to contradict that, they've got evidence to demonstrate that, then that can be taken into account as well. So
Or it can be say, I know of one body that wants to contradict it.
Chair, and just one additional clarification in terms of the actual pieces of work. Often, you may need to read through the detail, but they have indicated that, particularly on the Greenbelt one at least, it isn't a necessary guarantee. This is the stage one, stage two further detail. And coming out of the NPPF itself, even where our evidence or our support information may indicate one direction, that does not necessarily mean that's what will happen. And the inspectors at a planning appeal may well, because they are required to do their own assessment, they look at this information, they look at the pros information, and they will be able to and won't take this necessarily as gospel.
Which I think is what Councillor Simpson was alluding to. The fact is, this is an opinion of a consultant who, as I understand it, has looked at the areas, applied paragraphs 154 and 155 and said, if an application came in that area, it would be considered green or grey.
Yeah.
But it is an opinion. Councillor Waffles.
Sorry, I know I'm not officially part of this today, but I was just going to say, could we not put watermarks through the documents to say either draft or to be considered? So the worry is even if you wrote a statement, people can download documents.
Yeah.
If you've got a watermark through each page, they can't then reproduce it without having that watermark on.
Yeah, sort of unadopted type. Yeah.
So it has to be adopted. Yeah.
Information only or something like that. Can we do that?
I think there's some practicalities in that because it's not our document, but we need to check whether we can do that. So can we take that one away,
Okay.
understand the sentiment and see what the art of the possible is?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Simpson.
Particularly on those elements where it says final report, because it's not final.
Councillor Barney.
I was just going to say, I think maybe a watermark might not be too great, particularly on the pages that have got maps, but if we could put maybe a footer on each page at least.
I think, as Nick said, we'll speak to the authors of the original report. Where it's our report, but that shouldn't be a problem, should it? Where it's our information. So like the hell of the call for science, that's our information. But where it's a report from another body, we should certainly be putting something on it that says information only, not adopted type thing. Something where people, as Councillor Simpson says, if at a later stage we contradict it for whatever reason, because we've got new information, we'll need that evidence to kind of justify why. Oh, thank you very much. Do any other questions on the agenda item 6? The reports were noted anyway. If we could note that report with the additional bit in point 2.3, Nick, that you suggested around that.
Well, all of the conversation.
Yeah, all of the, that's what I'm saying. But
Amend it,
but if we amend 2.3 to say we're going to do that on all the documents that are ours and external reports, then I think that would be useful. So with that in mind,
We say as information for a report only.
I think it's what,
That would help.
it's make sure that it's understood that it's for information. It's not a final
We're not
word.
criticising the authors, but
Okay, with all those suggestions in place, do I have a proposer? Councillor Simpson, do I have a seconder? Councillor Ridley, all those in favour? Is any against or any abstentions? That's carried. Right, and I think Okay, 7. Why have I not got 7 on this report?
The LDS, Chairman.
Oh, the LDS, yes, sorry. Some reasons. Yeah, so, Dot, did you want to?
Yeah, it was just to bring the, as members are aware, we have to keep the local development scheme up to date. And we have checked on it on a timely basis as well. So because of the change that's in the first report, we need to change the local development scheme. And as you can see on page 4 of Appendix A, where it's the table that's on its side, and I do believe that this causes members a problem on viewing this, so apologies for that. But you'll see that the changes are. So
Which document is this?
it's Appendix A, the local development scheme that's attached to agenda item 7.
You know, part of the agenda packets in, got 1, 2 and 3, and I can't see
Page 4
in which document.
on the LDS report.
Yeah, I can't find that in any of the documentation.
I mean, that's on the,
I think it's got the only occasion when it's in a paper copy, but not in the e-copy.
yeah, I think it's not in the e-copy, yes.
Oh.
Which is what I was, so if you're looking at the electronic version, download, it's not actually on there, where it's.
I've looked at what's on the website, I've looked at what's on the email, I can't find it anywhere.
We'll get you a copy right there.
Back to paper, Keith. It's terrible, isn't it? You think you're.
Does anyone?
Oh, Chair, it's very often the opportunity to be old fashioned means you can be.
You can be smart as well, is that what it is? Okay.
Yeah, so the electronic passage just ends when we get some sex.
Yes, that's what I had on my screen.
Last page.
Yeah. That's some dinosaurs who use paper. Sort of, you're ahead of us. So yeah, this is the local development. Sorry, not one. The LDS, the local development, which is basically the timescale, isn't it?
So can I make a proposal then? Given that some of the new tech members haven't had the opportunity to read it, see it, agree it, disagree it, can I move the recommendation, but subject to members having the opportunity to comment in the next couple of days, so that if they disagree, having read it, that they can do so, because I think we'd be on questionable grounds to approve something that at least half of the board haven't actually had the opportunity to read it. So I think agreeing in principle to, if members do have concerns, they can raise it with you or the officer quickly.
I'm happy with that. All the members happy with that?
We'll have it sent round electronically, that missing part.
Yes, I'm getting nods from you, Jack. You can't see the nods.
Can I be saying on the next agenda item as well, though?
The heller was on the
The
electronic
big hell
version.
document is, but the report,
Oh, the report, sorry, yeah,
No.
good point.
And I was going to make the same comment as on the previous one, on the Heather too.
Okay, so are people happy on agenda item by the LDS, agenda item 7, that we approve it based on the fact that the members will have a chance to read the document? Because it is just, so this one's actually for approving, not just a noted.
So approve it, but if somebody complains, then it comes back to us.
Correct.
Well, I think partially that, but partially, I mean, I'm not sure there's much in.
I don't think there's a lot in the LDS, to be fair.
But I think,
Yeah.
give up, the opportunity for people to actually come back. So I'd say to them, if they come to members who have concerns or questions, come to you and our officer team.
Yeah.
And if those questions are not resolved,
Then it comes back. Okay.
but if they are resolved, then we move on.
Yeah, is everybody happy with that? Yeah. Okay, so Councillor Simpson moved based on that. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Humphries, all those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions?
I'll say, because I don't really know what's in it.
Yeah, okay, yeah.
Only meaning what you said before.
Okay, and a similar kind of item, whilst the Heller information is in the report, I think Councillor Barnett's point is valid. if you didn't have the paper version, they haven't seen the actual wording of it. But did you want to take people through the header so that people can see how we want to
So
progress
just
it?
to be clear then, in the electronic version, you didn't get agenda item N.
7 or 8.
7 and 8 is now it stops when it gets to number 6.
Yeah.
Okay,
For some reason, so the downloaded one that's on the website
okay,
and the one that got sent,
The supporting document, but not the actual.
but not the report.
that's good to know. Okay, thank you.
Did you want to go through
Um,
item 8, which is the heller?
I'm just wondering what the best to do. Okay. You caught me off guard there. So the board report is bringing the heller to yourselves. So that's the big report that you have, hopefully in your electronic version. And what that is goes through all of the corporate sites and looks at a range of issues and considerations, and we then give them what's called a RAG rating, red, amber and green. So at the front of the report should be the methodology to explain how we've assessed and how we've come to that red, amber and green for each of the different criteria. So for example, for ancient woodlands, say, if all of the site was in an ancient woodland or it's 15 metre buffer, then it would be red. If part of the site's within an ancient woodland or it's 15 metre buffer, it'd be amber. And if none of the sites within an ancient woodland or it's 15 metre buffer, it'd be green. So it gives you an idea of.
That's just one of the criteria, isn't it? If you consider.
Yeah. And the methodology goes through each of those. In addition, the methodology then goes through how we get to the capacity on sites for residential uses. The bigger the site, the more infrastructure, the more site requirements are required. So the less developable area there is for those particular sites. So you'll see in the methodology on page 10 that we give a breakdown of how we've worked out that net developable area as well. Because on some sites you'll go, oh, that's an awful lot of the site that we're losing there, but you're not actually losing it because that is where, if it's a big site, that's where the schools should go, health facilities, open space, recreation, things like that. So that's the reason why. So you'll see that, say on the results page, which is a summary at the back of the methodology, page 11, we actually give a table there of the number of sites that were red, amber and green for each of the criteria as well. Some are still to be done, like the Greenbelt review, because that would come out of the stage 2 report, and also the landscape sensitivity. Again, that would be out of that stage 2 report. Then the heller has got individual sites alongside a form that is similar to this, for each of the sites. So we've got 180 odd sites that have been gone through. And you'll see that we've also included the sites that members particularly wanted us to look at, which was Dormill and Burley Chaves as well. Those as well, to make sure that all of those are covered. We've got a big map on the table in front of you. Members had the big spreadsheet in each of the members' rooms, as well as a folder similar to this one in each of the members' rooms. So if there's any queries about any of the information, then please feel free to come and speak to somebody in the forward planning team. There isn't a map at the moment within the set of the whole of the borough. But that is what is on the table in front of you, and we can provide that if that's what members would like. The only issue is that because of the size of it and the information on it, it loses its is it detached or?
This is one that you're going to send to me. I'll have a look and see if it's workable on a screen.
Yeah.
And then if it's workable, then we'll then send it. So this is where we ask for all of that to be on one map. So the existing sites, call for sites, those that are gone, etc., etc. So we've got it all in one place.
I think some of the previous ones have broken it down into quarters, haven't they?
Yeah, I mean, this is what we're playing around with, the best way of doing it so that you can actually zoom in and it still remains meaningful.
That's correct.
We're actually having this conversation in the group room. It seems very hard to disseminate some of this because it's all on so different.
Yeah, because they are of a size though. That's the problem, that they're of a size to make it meaningful.
Chair, I've just checked with the site that you've got in front of you. That's the plan in front of you. That's a fairly basic map. Doesn't divide them into the red, amber, green. But obviously that provides simply all sites received and the allocations. I've managed to do that at around about 4.5 megabytes, which is easy accessible on the web. If you want more detail in terms of the background map, it's the background map that gets pixelated. So we're often accused of trying to hide things because we've grayed it out or it just gets pixelated.
That's it.
You can't see roads. But that's simply because it's an ordnance survey base map, and it means if you're going to a lot of detail, you're looking at 20 to 40. But as Councillor Phillips suggested, if we look at it and divide it into 4, I'm hoping we can make it work, because that's what we did last time.
Okay, thank you. That's fine.
I was just going to say, regarding the paperwork, because the recommendation is that we approve those documents to be published, and the documents themselves were distributed. I think the report is just a summary of that, so I don't think this is as much of a blocker as the last one where we hadn't actually seen the thing we were meant to be approving.
Okay. Yeah, because that report actually did go out. That it's in the paperwork, isn't it? Councillor Simpson.
Thank you, Chairman. I love paragraph 3.1 where it implies that I recall what we agreed in 2021 and 2022. I struggle to recall what I did at 20 to 8 yesterday, let alone what we may have done in 2021. But my question, Chairman, is almost the same as on the previous one. I don't think we've adopted and approved the header, unless I've just forgotten. And we are publishing this. Are we simply publishing on the same basis that we did with the other background papers? Or are we making a comment on it? Very much the report makes it abundantly clear that this is part 1 and part 2 is to come, and we will sift through and do more work with it. But inevitably, when you start publishing an assessment, it implies that we're in agreement with it.
Well,
I'm sure we are.
Yeah, I think the words need to go in the same that says it's not adopted, it's not actually, these are the sites, and we've not made a decision in our listage. But it's a fair point, because people will presume that because it's a published document, that's factual. And I think we need to be really clear that says it's for information, and it doesn't mean it's still under review. Dot, did you want to come back on that?
Yeah, it's just to point out at 4.3 in the board report, we do say that it assesses the site to see whether they could be developed, but it doesn't say that they should be.
Even underlined.
Yes, even underlined. So just to make sure, but yes, happy to put it on the website as part of background information that will then go forward in the work.
I was splitting hairs, Chairman. I thought great comfort from 4.3, but there is genuinely a big difference between could be developed in our view, and the board hasn't said that.
I would like to say something about it. I think until this is adopted, it's gone through section 19, whatever it is that we have to go through, and it's been to an inspector. I don't think it should go on and be published without a very clear warning that it is not a final version. It has not been decided. It is only for information gathering.
And we did have that very
I
conversation.
think that should go on everything that we publish to do with this until then.
Well, actually, until Reg 19, which is the submitted plan, none of it's decided.
So that should be.
No, and I think that's the point that's been made a number of times. I think every piece of information that goes out prior to that point should be for information only. This is not a done deal. This is under consideration. You know,
If it doesn't say that on every page, it's very easy.
That's what I'm saying.
To lift that a page or a paragraph and say, well.
Well, this is what suggested putting it in a footer. If we put it in a footer and header or something like that, then it just makes it really clear.
And so we have agreed the methodology. The methodology is adopted. The outcome is what we're talking about.
Yes. Okay. Any more questions on agenda item 8, which says the recommendation is that North Warwickshire have the HELA Part 1 and HELA Part 1 methodology be published. I think with all the caveats we've talked about, is everybody happy with that recommendation? Dr. Warren?
I just wondered if you wanted to say be published as background information.
Yeah, that's good. If we change that, reckon the joint. Yeah, if we could put that in the recommendation as well. And as I say, if we could absolutely, as has been muted a number of times by a number of different members, be really clear that it's all information not adopted. So that people, and on every page, so that people can't just take a snippet of it and say this is fact. Okay.
I think this comes down to sort of the issue we're having with communicating with the public, isn't it? It's almost like we need to have a section of the website that's just dedicated specifically for this, with almost like a page of its own that explains in very broad terms the whole thing. And I know we can't, but it's like it's the idea, isn't it? The public are witnessing a process, not a solid,
Not an outcome.
not an outcome. Yeah,
Yeah.
so you are to bear witness to this and to have feedback in this live document almost.
We could create a team site for this information to be shared amongst members of the LDF and comment on before it goes public. I think that's one of the concerns, and I understand based on some of the appeals that we've got ongoing was one of the reasons we wanted some of this information to be made public. But there are other ways using technology. Sorry, Councillor Simpson, did you want to come in first?
In principle, I agree with you, but the difficulty of providing, if you like, official documentation on unofficial media. So having a team site, that's going to be on our phones. So then we're in breach of our own IT rules if we did that.
I don't know, have you got North Warwickshire Teams on your phone?
I haven't got a North Warwickshire phone.
I was going to say, you'd be very clever to get North Warwickshire on your phone because they won't allow it. It's on your laptop and that's all, that's it.
So-
Yes, exactly.
In that case, then there's not much point, is there? It's all, because North Warwickshire Teams on your North Warwickshire computer, it's the same
I
as
get it.
any other version, isn't it?
Yeah, what? Doc, did you want to come back?
I just wanted to say though that this is one part of the bigger picture for the local plan, and a lot of the HELA is based on fact. It's a certain distance from a certain facility. It's a certain area from, say, the ancient woodlands. It's either in or out. So this part of it isn't that analysis of whether we'd want to allocate it, how the policy would look, how much land would you actually allocate and things like that. So this is only a small part of the background information, which an awful lot of that should already be in the public domain. And I'm just thinking that to make the progress in the local plan, it would be good to say, right, okay, we've done the Heller Part 1.
Mm.
Now let's focus on the Heller Part 2 and the allocations. Using that information, and that where members understand or believe that there's a mistake in that information, then bringing that to the commission, and that would be fine.
Yeah, and I think your point is okay in this kind of forum, and these, but as comments are made earlier, you know, if a resident sees the first page 4 of the Heller report, map CFS 001, and they're a local resident, they'll assume that that's it. Right or wrong, unless we specifically say, look, it's been put forward as a site, at this stage we're still determining. And unfortunately, that's the nature. The moment it goes out, and I think that's people, members' nervousness, if I'm reading it correctly, that once it goes out, people will presume it's factual and a reality, rather than, as Councillor Phillips said, it's a process or document that's in process without being determined at this stage. And I know what other members think. That my view is that if somebody sees a map and they live local to it, they'll assume it's in, unless you specifically say, look, it's come forward, but it's not determined.
I'm very lucky. The residents on Facebook in Wood End, especially, are very receptive and quite communicative, and we get a good thread of conversation. But they still look at the maps, and using just my example, it's like the building here, the building there, and I'm lucky my residents will listen to me, talk to me, and I explain it. But you are always explaining it over and over again. And if that was at least stamped on some of the documents, what they do is they just screen grab the bit they require, not accuse them of doing anything wrong, but obviously they just want the bit they need. And that's it. That's what you've got. It's like we're building here.
Yeah.
So you're actually, what you're doing is poisoning the well of your own feedback as well, because you've got miscommunication happening via accident.
Mm.
So all you're going to get back when you put the questionnaire out is not round here. You're not going to get that churn of data that you require. So it's in our interest to stamp things as work in progress or for information purposes only, or for consultation only. So we get more honest feedback, because the first thing that people do is the hackles go on, the start pistol's fired, it's just not round here, mate.
Yeah.
That's the only way you're getting back.
And I think everybody's pretty much on the same page, if I'm reading. Councillor Barnett, do you want to come in?
That's all right. I think it's been covered really.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so hopefully, say it's not negative, it's just that we deal with our residents on a daily basis and we know how they'll react to some of this information. So with that in mind, are we happy for this report or for this information to be published? Do I have a proposer? Councillor Phillips, do I have a seconder? Councillor Simpson, all those in favour? Any against? Any abstentions? That's carried. Right.
That was subject to the same caveats.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think it's less of an issue with that one. We actually have a copy of documents, whereas on agenda item 7, we didn't have the document we were approving.
Yeah, but I think the start says this one's the factual one that says, yeah, it is where it is. But I think we just need to make that point about doesn't mean it's in the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't think we've got any
Yeah,
PLC.
sorry, I was just gonna
Sorry, Greg.
put my 2 pennies worth in, if that's all right.
Yeah,
Do
go
we
on.
need to agree sets of words then? That's a catch-all for all documentation that we're publishing at this stage on, you know, in the local plan on the local LDF website. So it's a catch-all. You know, this is information that will be developed into emerging evidence.
think if
We
we-
can
think
agree
we
that
can
with
have one.
all.
Yeah, I think if we can have one, the catch-all, but I'm conscious of Nick's point that some of these reports are not ours. So
Yes.
what if you could come back to us with a suggestion that says, actually, we're going to put this on all our documentation at this stage because none of it's final. And if we can put it on an external report, then great. If not, then the external report will have something else. So I think, Nick, Dr. Mike, if you could have a think about that and come back to us and just say, this is what we're planning on doing now, and then add it to the thing. And I'm happy, is everyone happy to do that via email that we agree the wording? But if you send it out to this committee, or this subgroup, with the proposed wording, and I think if everyone could come back and say, yeah, I'm happy with that, or make suggestions, then that'd be good. Councillor Simpson.
I'll do
Responses
it on
from
a,
all of those people.
Yes.
By taking a lunchtime, that would be really good.
I'll do
Oh,
it,
let's make sure they've got the wording first. Sorry.
I'll do it on a non-con basis, so that if no response is acceptance, and I don't want everyone, if they agree to it, we have to go through the- Yes.
Yes. Very good. Yeah. So yeah, if you could get the wording out to us, and give us a timeline by when do you think you could get the wording out to us?
Well, we can try by tomorrow, or it'd be early part of next week.
Okay. So if we can have it tomorrow, which would be really good, and then if you yeah, get it by 100 hours tomorrow morning. If we can have it by close of play tomorrow, and then if you've not heard anything by Monday,
Yeah.
then deem it to be
Yeah, okay,
accepted.
we'll work on that, Chairman. Thank you.
Cool. Okay, thank you. And that is it. Don't think we've got any P&C. No private confidential. Thank you all very much. And in immortal words, the chip shop's still open. Thank you, everybody.